What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. As you can see, I am back in the studio. The plan is to be in here for the most part for going forward. Once we get to probably, I would say, the last week in August, it should be pretty much all in the studio. It's ready for me to be used. As you can see, getting in here, maybe a little harder than I originally anticipated because I usually use my identification with Sacred Heart to get in here. Because I'm in between graduating and starting graduate school, we have my account hasn't actually been activated yet, so I'm relying on like people who have like the graduate systems here to get me into this room, which shouldn't be a problem. But you know, if they're not here, that could be a little tricky. But for the most part, I will be in here for the time being, doing the show, and pretty much all the time once we get towards the end of August. But let's get started. Jalen Brunson agreed to a 4-year, $156 million extension with the New York Knicks. He could have waited till next year to sign a 5-year extension worth $270 million, or $269, just about $270 million. But he decided to take an $113 million pay cut so that the Knicks have additional roster flexibility. This is an incredibly selfless move on the part of Jalen Brunson. Most guys don't do that. You see guys, they have to take every single penny. And apparently he said he looked at how the New England Patriots and the Kansas City Chiefs and the New York Yankees, when they had Derek Jeter, Patriots had Tom Brady, and the current Chiefs now, Mahomes. Those guys always took less money. Tom Brady always took less money in New England. It allowed them, to build around them. As a result, they were able to have, a really good committee of running backs and a really good offensive line and some big receivers that he liked and some really good defenses. Part of the reason why they won 6 Super Bowls when Tom Brady was there. Patrick Mahomes has taken less money throughout his time in the Chiefs. To allow the Chiefs to bring in guys, to help them on the offensive line and, in the backfield and on defense. And the Chiefs have won 3 Super Bowls since they drafted Mahomes. Derek Jeter with the Yankees always took less money. It allowed the Yankees to, a team that's obviously under George Steinbrenner was willing to spend and do whatever it takes, them to pretty much sign whoever they wanted. And part of the reason the Yankees won 5 World Series when Derek Jeter was there. He decided, all right, if I take less money, it'll allow the next team now allows him to pay Mikal Bridges. He's got 2 years left on his deal. When the time comes, maybe Dante DiVincenzo, and if Julius Randle, steps up this year and he needs an extension, the Knicks want to continue to improve their roster. Now they have the ability to do that with now this deal for Jalen Brunson. So salute to him. Very selfless move. And he's still getting $39 million a year. The original contract he signed with the Knicks, I think, was worth $26 million a year. I think after the 30, he can opt out and sound like a huge deal worth up to like $400 million. But that's 3 years now across the bridge when we get there. But Brunson will be a Knick for a very long time. Let's go to the Home Run Derby. That is tonight. These are the contestants. Pete Alonso from the Mets is doing it. I think he's won it at least once, if not twice. I think this is his fourth or fifth derby that he's done. Alec Bohm with the Phillies. Set up breakout year. Adolis Garcia with the Texas Rangers. Of course, he's the hometown guy, with the All-Star game of the Derby being in Texas. Gunnar Henderson with the Baltimore Orioles. Teoscar Hernandez with the Dodgers. Marcelo Ozuna with the Braves. Jose Ramirez with the Cleveland Guardians. And Bobby Witt Jr. with the Kansas City Royals. Obviously, we have a whole set of new rules. I went over those a couple of weeks ago, week or two ago at this point. But that's the Home Run Derby field. That will be live tonight at 8 o'clock. And let's go over the MLB standings. I'm going to go over the standing because the first half of the MLB season is officially over. And I'm going to give each team a grade to this point. So starting in the American League East, Baltimore Orioles, 58-38. They beat the Yankees last night 6-5. Coming from behind, took advantage of a couple of mistakes by the Yankees in that bottom of the 9th inning. They had a phenomenal first half. I'm going to give them an A. They have so much young talent, especially when it comes to the offensive side of things. Obviously, Gunnar Henderson, who was rookie of the year last year, took an even bigger step forward. He's threatening with 30 home runs. He has a chance to easily clear 40 home runs in his second season as a pro. He's really, really good. And there's all those other guys, Ryan Mountcastle, Ali Rushman's obviously a stud, Anthony Santander. They just have guys left and right. Obviously, you added Corbin Burns in the offseason to that rotation, which has had a lot of injuries, but has held together pretty nicely. So we'll see if they make a move at the trade deadline. But they got an A. They've been rolling. They come in the second best team in the American League. Not much else to say. New York Yankees. They're a game behind the Orioles at 58-40. Game out of first place, first walk in American League. I'm gonna give them a B-. Like, they were rolling for a while, but they have been really struggling. I think they're 6-19 their last 25 games heading into the break. They've won 3 games, I think, in the last 2 weeks or so. They are really struggling. They're struggling offensively. Aaron Judge has been absolutely amazing. He's the MVP right now in the American League, in my opinion. He's got 34 home runs at the break. He's got a chance to hit 60 and possibly break his own record, which we thought would never be broken. Of course, it stood for, 65 years almost. Roger Maris' record that Judge broke 2 years ago. Yoan Soto is killing it. He's been absolutely phenomenal. He's going to get a large contract after the season. Other than that, they have not had a lot. Vogt got to a really good start. He overall has struggled for the most part since then. He's been up and down lately. But, he's kind of the same thing. He gets a lot of attention because he's the Yankee shortstop. But he's a very good player, but I think a little overrated. Verdugo's been okay. Other than that, like, Rizzo, who's hurt, was horrible. Gleyber Torres has been horrible. LeMahieu's been horrible. They're really, really struggling offensively. Stanton's hurt right now. He was, a home runner. He's a home runner bust guy anyway. How much is he really going to give you? And guys haven't stepped up. Although this kid Ben Rice, who they called up, has been very good since they called him up. So kudos to him. The rotation, which even without Garrett Cole was rolling, is now struggling. Cole hasn't gotten, in sync yet. Rodon is really struggling. Gill, who might have been the slang in the American League about a month ago, is struggling. Cortez has been pretty good. Now Stroman, who was pitching really well, he's struggling. Their bullpen has really been great all year. Clay Holmes is really struggling right now. They do this every year. They beat up on all these bad teams the first 2 months of the season. It's like, oh, this team's unstoppable. They're going to the World Series. And then all of a sudden, they start playing good teams and they start falling apart. Happens every year. So that's what they are. I'll give them a B- because they are still, the third best team in the American League. They are the first wild card in the American League. Boston Red Sox 53-42. Did they get a B+ from me? They've been really, really good. I did not think they would make the playoffs going into the season. But they're 11 games over 500 right now, playing really good baseball heading into the break. They are only 4.5 games out of first place in the American League East. So they are honestly one of the best teams in the league. They're probably top 5 in the American League, at least record-wise. So only 4.5 games out of the American League. Only 3.5 games out of the first wild card. They're only 3.5 games behind the Yankees. So they're playing really, really well. Their pitching, despite having a ton of injuries, especially in their rotation, has been a lot better than expected. Going here, we thought, all right, they should have a very good offense, but the pitching's a problem. It's honestly been the opposite. Their pitching's actually been really good. It's offensively outside of Devers haven't gotten enough production, but they're playing really well. Tampa Rays 48-48. I'm gonna give them a C-. They're so mediocre. I kind of expected it going into the year. I thought they'd be a pretty mediocre team. Did not have them making the playoffs. Had it going into the season, but still 48-48 is not ideal. You're right, 500. No, I don't know what happened to Randy Arozarena this year. He's kind of fallen off a cliff. They still have the same depth they do in the pick stuff that they have in past years. And Blue Jays at 44-52, 8 games under 500. They get a D from me. They've been very bad. Look, I was not sold on them going into the season by any means. But I thought, all right, they could sneak in the playoffs again, but I think that they go any further than that. The same thing they do every year. That being said, to be 8 games under 500 and in last place, that is just absolutely embarrassing. And, let's talk about Vladdy being traded, but Bichette hasn't had a great year. Let's talk about him being traded. No, obviously, this is a team that kind of can't catch a break. Alec Manoah, they called him back up. He was pitching not too bad, not too shabby. Then he has Tommy John. So they just can't catch a break. Goldsman has fallen off a cliff this year. Not sure what's going on with him. So what could go wrong, for the most part, has gone wrong for the Toronto Blue Jays. And they probably have to be sellers because they're pretty much out of it. This is the National League where pretty much, unless you're, god awful, you are in the race. But, so they're pretty much out of it, and they'll probably have to sell. I'm interested what happens with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. See what happens with him and Bo Bichette. But that's the American League East. American League Central, Cleveland Guardians are at 58-37. They definitely got an A. They've had a huge breakout year. They've been very mediocre the last couple of years, but they've been phenomenal. They're actually they have the best record in the American League at the break, which I did not expect. And remember, Shane Bieber had Tommy John in April, and their starting rotation still has been really good. They haven't, and offensively, they've been as poor as I thought they were. I mean, they are not a great offensive team, but their pitching's been so good. Kudos to Stephen Vogt in his first year as a manager there. Nice, did a very good job. Minnesota Twins are in second, 54-42. They're going to get a B+ for me. They've been very good this year. They won the division last year, but, the division was also very bad. They got a pretty easy first-round matchup against Toronto at home. They were able to win that series. They're only 4.5 games out of first place. 7 games over 500. 12 games over 500. I'm looking at the Royals. 12 games over 500 for the Twins. They've been very good overall, and they got a good shot to make the playoffs. Kansas City Royals 52-45. I'm gonna give them a B. They've definitely taken a step forward this year. I had a feeling they'd be a little better than people expected, and they've been the last couple of years. But kudos to Matt Quattaro. Got a young manager who overall has done a good job. You obviously have your by Bobby Witt, young star in the making. Philip Perez is still a really good player, veteran catcher. They're a very solid team, and they're right there in the wildcard race. Tigers 47-50. They get a C. I mean, look, their pitching's actually been very good. Offensively, they're just so bad. They're so bad offensively. Terrible. They're being screwed over by the Javier Baez contract. That team's offense is so bad. Same. If they had a competent offense, they're probably a playoff team. They don't even have that, and they're 3 games under 500. And the White Sox 27-71. They get an F. Like, this team is beyond bad. They are 44 games under 500 at the All-Star break. They are 32.5 games out of first place. Yes, the division is actually very good this year, surprisingly. But 32.5 games out at the break is insanity. They are extremely bad. Offensively, I'm not sure if I've seen the worst team ever. Paul DeYoung's their 6-hitter. This is not 2018. This is 2024. I'm not sure if he's hit 200 in 5 years. That's their 6-hitter. Yikes. That's all I have to say. Over to American League West, Seattle 52-46. I'm gonna give them a B. They going into the year, I thought they were going to be competitive and not quite in the playoffs. That division has been overall let down, but they're in first place right now. Their pitching is absolutely amazing, maybe the best in the league. Their offense is horrible. They're hitting .218 as a team. Let me repeat, .218. That's horrid, and they're in first place. That's crazy. But Houston Nationals are at 15-46. I'm going to game out. I'm going to give them a B-. They got off to an atrocious start. Injuries all across their pitching staff. Guys underperforming on their pitching staff. Guys in their lineup underperform, but they've gotten a little healthier. Some guys have pitched a lot better. Ronald Blanco, the rookie, has had a bit of a breakout. Alex Bregman, who was struggling, has come along. Jordan Alvarez has gotten healthy. And all of a sudden, they're only game out of first place. That division kind of reminds me of the National League East in 2021. It was the Mets got to a very good start, but then they got slammed with injuries, and just they were just so bad. Well, not bad. They were really mediocre for a while, but the division was just so bad. They were hanging on by a solid like 4, 5, 6 games in first place. They weren't really hitting it all, but their pitching was phenomenal. Then eventually, Philly gets going, Atlanta gets going. But both those teams made moves at the trade deadline, and before you knew it, the Mets were collapsing, and the Braves won the division and won the World Series, and the Mets finished with 75 wins. This kind of looks like one of those things. Seattle is going to collapse, though. But I would not be further too soon to winning the division, even after that really bad start. Texas Ranger at 46-50. I'm going to give them a C-. I think they were going to regress, not this hard. And you lose Jordan Montgomery, who's your number 2 starter last year in free agency. The entire back end of your bullpen, Chapman, Will Smith, and Chris Stratton all leaves in free agency. Scherzer had like his third or fourth surgery in like the last 2 calendar years. He's 40 years old. He was already declining. They're coming off an injury. Not sure what they were expecting out of him this year. So, I'm sure, and I was sure a couple of guys were going to regress a little bit in that lineup because they were so amazing last year. But to be 4 games under 500, I think they regressed that much. I still thought they'd be a playoff team. But because of how mediocre the division has been, they're only 5 games out of first place. So, they're still alive. So, what happens if they move Max Scherzer at a deadline because he is a free agent at the end of the season. That being said, he doesn't need to ring chase because he already has a ring with the Washington Nationals in 2019. Angels 41-55. They get a D. I don't know what you're expecting. They're a 70-win team with Ohtani, without him. Just do the math. They're probably a 60-win team. And now Trout gets hurt. Not sure if he'll play again this year. So I don't know what you're expecting. And the Athletics 37-61. I'm gonna give them a C- as well. Look, they're bad. They're 24 games under 500 right now, but they've not been nearly as bad as I thought personally. Going to year, I was like, this team isn't trying. They're playing in some small-ass stadium in Sacramento for a few years until their stadium in Las Vegas is ready. The owner doesn't care. I feel bad for the fans. Their team is by far the worst team in the league going into the year. They basically had a minor league roster. Okay, I don't expect anything, but they've been better than I thought. Mason Miller has been electric out of the ninth inning. Brent Rooker's had a great year. And they've had a few other guys who have kind of came out of nowhere. Shane Langeliers has not been horrible. Abraham Toro's played well for them this year. Look, they're still very bad. They're probably going to be in last place in that division. They'll probably still lose 100 games, but I thought they were going to lose at least 110. They could at least avoid that. So, I guess it's progress. Anything for Oakland, their stadium holding together is probably progress, knowing the A's. But on to the National League. Philadelphia Phillies, 52-34. They get an A+. Best team in all of baseball at the break. I knew they'd be a good team. The last 2 years, they made the playoffs as a wild card. Went to the World Series 2 years ago, to the NLCS this past year. We knew they'd be good. They're a very good lineup. They have a solid starting rotation. Bullpen isn't great, but it's good enough. Very good management. Rob Thompson, their underrated manager. Look at the division. Yes, we thought the Braves would be very good, but the Mets are kind of retooling. Nationals are still in the rebuild. Miami, who was worse than the Phillies last year, are set to regress. They have a clear-cut second-best team in the division. There's no reason that they shouldn't make the playoffs, but they have been phenomenal. Offensively, they've been great. Harper, obviously, has been a stud. Castellanos has been good. Schwarber's continued to hit tanks. Alec Bohm has had a monster year. I think he leads the National League in RBIs right now at the break. He's been phenomenal. Troy Turner, when he's been healthy, he's been very, very good. So, they've been hitting on all cylinders, and their rotation's been great. Ranger Suarez might be the starting in the National League. Dax Weaver has been good. Noel's been good. And Christopher Sanchez has had a breakout year. Bullpen's been solid. They're a complete team. Right now, the best team in baseball. The Braves at 53-42, not as dominant in the last couple of years. I thought they'll be a lot better. Their pitching's been phenomenal. Chris Sale, who's wasn't sure his arm was connected to his shoulder, is an all-star and is healthy all of a sudden. Offensively, they've struggled. Ozuna's been very good. Austin Riley, for the most part, has been good. But obviously, Acuna getting hurt, really hurt. Orlando Arcia, who stepped up last year, has not been very good. Matt Olson hasn't had the year he had last year. He was going to regress a little bit. He was He was one of the best players in baseball last year, but he's had a bit of a down year. So, but the Braves seem to make a move for a bat, and then when Acuna got hurt, they said the plan was to fix that issue in house with how they get offense out of their outfield. But they might have to make a move because that's the problem right now. You have the Mets 49-46. I'm gonna give the Mets a B minus. Look, I did not have high hopes for the Mets going into the year, even as a fan of them. They got to a very bad start, but they've completely turned it around. Had a huge June, obviously, grimaced at the first pitch, which when I saw, I was like, wow, this is what we've come to. But then all of a sudden they started winning. I was like, oh, wait, maybe that was a good idea. Then they call up Jose Iglesias for death, and all of a sudden he's hitting 340 and playing Gold Glove caliber defense at second and third base. And all of a sudden his song that he wrote, again, even though he had that in him, is a hit online and in the Mets clubhouse, and it's energized them. All of a sudden, the Mets are right there in the wildcard race. So, kudos to them. They've come live offensively. The rotation's pitched a lot better lately. Bullpen's been a mess this year. If they can make a move to improve their bullpen, they could make the playoffs. National League, anyone besides like the Rockies can make the playoffs pretty much, and the Marlins. Washington Nationals 44-53. They've been a little bit better than I thought. I did think they would take a small step forward. I didn't think they'd be a playoff team, but they have a lot of young pieces. C.J. Abrams has had a great year. This kid James Wood, the tall, lanky kid they call up, has been very good. They've got some young pieces that are nice. They have some nice trade chips too. Jesse Winker's had a resurgent year for them. So see what they do with that one. And the Marlins 33-63. They're just very, very bad. The pitching has had a ton of injuries, and offensively they're just horrid. They're going to be, before the trade, probably the league's best bat to ball hitter leagues arrives to the Padres for a bunch of prospects. Without them, they're very bad. On to the National League Central. Milwaukee Brewers are at 55-42. I'm going to give them a B+. I did not expect them to be in first place in the National League this year. That caught me off guard. They lost a lot in the offseason, but they have a lot of young guys who have stepped up for them. So kudos to the Milwaukee Brewers and to Pat Murphy, who's now the manager over there. The Cardinals are at 50-46. I'll give them a B-. That roster is so old. The average age is 31. That's almost insane. But because of how bad the National League is, they're hanging right in there in the wildcard picture. I don't really know how, but all those old guys are. They're hanging in there. The Pirates were 500. Look, Paul Skeens is absolutely incredible. Guy's got a year just over 2 and 11 starts. So he pitched about 6 innings. He had 7 no-hit innings. And then they pulled him in his last start. He's starting the All-Star game. They got some of your young pieces on Old Neil Cruz, Brian Hayes. Brian Ronzalez is a great player. So, but they're 500, but they're right there in the wildcard race. Reds 47-50. I had a feeling, all right, they'd be right around where they were last year. They don't have the pitching staff right now. But La Cruz is fun. And National League's so bad, they're still hanging in there in the wildcard race. Cubs are at 47-51. 4 games under 500. Their offense has struggled a lot between, Bellinger hasn't had the year he had last year. But, Christopher Morel hasn't been great either. But they're hanging in there, even though they're in last place. Over to National League West, Dodgers 56-41. I'll give them an A. Look, this team is stacked. They should be where they are. They should be even better. But they've also had a ton of injuries to their pitching staff. Plus, we haven't seen Clayton Kershaw yet. Obviously, Ohtani isn't pitching this year. So, but they're still rolling. Diamondbacks 49-48. They've played a little bit better. Got to a horrible start. Joe Montgomery, one of those guys who Boras screwed over. They got signed so late. He has not been good. Corbin Carroll's fallen off a cliff. Gabriel Moreno's been the same. So they've regressed a lot. Playing a little better lately. Hanging in there. Padres at 50-49. They're technically tied with the Diamondbacks, both for the same amount of games. Out and have the same win percentage. They just, I think, Padres have played 2 more games than Diamondbacks. They should probably be a little bit better considering the talent they have. But overall, they've been solid. They're very competitive. Giants 47-50. They've had some injuries. Jung Ho Lee in April got shut down. He had season-ending surgery. That hurt. Chapman's been really bad. Snell's been really bad. So all those pickups made in the offseason haven't really paid dividends of where they thought. But again, they're in the National League. They're hanging in there. And the Rockies at 34 and 63 are just irrelevant. They're playing the Mets. Half the guys never even heard of. They have by far the worst rotation league. The bullpen isn't much better, and offensively, they obviously have the benefits of Coors Field. In Coors Field, they do fine. They leave Coors Field. The air pressure is actually normal. The ball doesn't travel 400 feet if you just barely hit it. They're in trouble. They can't help you. But that's the only things at the first half, and those are my grades. But the Rockies get a D. They just suck. All right, so congratulations to Barba Krejcikova and Carlos Alcaraz for winning Wimbledon's. Krejcikova, 31st seed. So, incredible run for her. And Alcaraz won his second straight Wimbledon. He's, 23 years old, and he swept Novak Djokovic, one of the greatest tennis players ever. He's an absolute star. He should be the best player in the world right now. Absolute superstar. And before we get to my continuing with my NFL previews, I have a kind of a funny story to tell you. Not funny, but it's more silly. So Marlins outfielder Dane Myers in their last game was ejected from the game. He was arguing with the umpire, got very heated, and he got thrown out. He was so angry, he went back to the clubhouse and he kicked the clubhouse door. He injured himself in the process. Not only did he injure himself, he broke his ankle. And is now 6 to 8 weeks. So we may not see this guy. It's July 15th. So he's going to be out till like the last few weeks of the season. Considering the Marlins are third against under 500 and buried in last place in the National League East, the Marlins most likely will be eliminated from playoff contention by the time he comes back. I just don't understand some of these athletes that do these stupid things. At least he wasn't, he kept it in his pants and everything like that, didn't commit a crime or anything. I don't get these guys, you get so pissed, you punch a wall, you kick your locker, you kick a door, punch a door. Like, what do you think is going to happen? This giant, big, sturdy door against your foot. The door's probably going to win. Just saying. I don't get some of these people. I just don't. All right, let's finish off with, we're going to do 4 more teams previews. We're going to start with the New York Giants. I expect the Giants to be very bad. You got Daniel just coming off an injury. He's not that good. He's not the guy. You overpaid him. The contract he has is out of control. You lose Saquon Barkley, obviously. You lose Xavier McKinney on the back end on defense. Devin Singletary's fine, but that's a major downgrade. I like the Neighbors pick. He's a stud. But, his quarterbacks are Daniel Jones and Drew Lock, who's a fine backup, but obviously not what we thought what he was going to be. And the rest of the receiving core is yikes. I don't know what to say. Dan Willard's retired too. Their offensive line is still bad. They brought in the piece too. I think John Wayne they brought in. Their line is still bad. And no Andrew Thomas come back will help. Maybe John Michael Schmitz, the young center, will help a little bit. But you still have Neo's a train wreck. Their offensive line still is not very good. They should have a very good defense. Obviously, you bring in Brian Burns, Kevin Dillon, Dexter Lawrence. One defensive line is very good. Bobby O'Kekary is very good as well. The corner you took last year. But their offense is going to be pitiful. And I like Brian Dable, but they are not very good. And I expect them to be the worst team in the NFC, possibly the worst in the league. On to the Seattle Seahawks. That's my next team. I expect them to come where they were last year. You have Geno. He's a serviceable starter, but nothing more. He regressed after a career the year before, but was still fine as a starter. Well, they have a bunch of weapons. Metcalf, Tawarlaka, JSN. You have Kenneth Walker in the backfield. Secondary, they let go of a few guys. Quinter Diggs, also Jamal Adams. All got let go. You did not re-sign Bobby Wagner, so I don't think they're going to be great defensively. They should have a pretty good offense. Obviously, you make the trade for Sam Howell. We'll see if he can get the shot at some point this year. Obviously, a new coach with Mike McDonald. You move on from Pete Carroll after 14 years. But I said it'll be pretty mediocre. Minnesota Vikings. Look, they have a lot of nice weapons. Obviously, Justin Jefferson's a stud. I got to have Jordan Addison. What is wrong with some of these young receivers? Obviously, Henry Ruggs is a whole nother level of things, but Hollywood Brown, Jordan Addison. Why do you guys have to go out, have like 20 shots, and get in your car? Even if you don't have shots, you just have to get in your car and drive 150 miles an hour. I just don't understand. Like, can you just be normal, please? Because just because you get a few $1 million does not mean you can drive 140 miles per hour on the highway. That does not give you the right. I don't get some of these athletes. They're just so stupid. But he's a very good player. Hopefully he's not suspended. For the Vikings' sake, Hawkins obviously a great tight end. You bring in Aaron Jones, who's an upgrade in the backfield. First of all, your star right now is Sam Darnold, who's not a starting quarterback. J.J. McCarthy looks rough in training camp. First round pick. I think he could be a solid starter at his peak. And they're not good defensively. You lose your best pass rusher, one of the league's best pass rushers, Daniel Hunter. And there isn't a lot there. I expect them to struggle. Definitely a kind of a retooling it for the Vikings. And last but not least is the New York Jets. My New York Jets. Look, on paper they should have a really good team. If Rodgers is healthy, you have a great back in Breece Hall. Plus you draft Bremer now, who's very good. You have Garrett Wilson, who's a stud at receiver. You add Mike Williams, he's healthy. He's a great receiver. Line should be a lot better. Tyron Smith, when healthy, is an all-pro left tackle. You add Simpson. You have Morgan Moses, Jeff Fashanu. You have Vera Tucker healthy. You have an amazing defense, arguably the best defense in the league. And you add Hassan Reddick, assuming he stops holding out. Studs of all that defense: Quincy Williams, CJ Mosley, Sauce Gardner. Anywhere you look, there's a stud on my defense. They are at worst the top three. But it's the Jets. Something's going to go wrong. Also, you have a 40-year-old quarterback coming off a torn Achilles. You have injury concerns on the offensive line. Mike Williams, who you run in to be that number 2 receiver that you really needed. He has a lot of injury concerns. Son running, he was another talented pass rusher that you brought in. He's holding out for a new contract. You all know how I feel about Robert Saleh and his coaching staff. Very, very poorly. I'm expecting something to go wrong. But this is the year. If they don't at least make the playoffs, everyone's gone. Aaron Rodgers said themselves. Saleh, Douglas, they're all gone. You're going to have to clean house if that happens. You're going to fall the face of the earth. That's all I got for you guys today. Until next time, so long. Have a great day.